Welcome to Pork Chops, Rice, and Peaches. I'm Richard.
And I'm Noah.
And we are back in studio after a couple of episodes in your apartment at the secret location in Apathy, Kansas.
About a month off.
Yeah.
Ish. I had a lot of projects going on that kind of got in the way, but we're back.
That you can't talk about at this time.
Not at this time.
But we will have some real cool reveals in a few months.
In a few months. Just a few, though. But the timing lined up perfectly with the end of the new Obi-Wan series.
Yes!
Which is what we're talking about today.
Now, before we launch into, Obi-Wan and our discussion about it, there have been numerous videos and controversies and comments made about this Obi-Wan series, and some of what I was reacting to early on in our conversations has already been said a dozen times by a dozen different people, and those criticisms I think are fair, and I think they're accurate.
I think quite a few of them are. But disclaimer out of the way.
Disclaimer out of the way. I'm sure that we are going to offer a couple of things that are unique and different.
Yes, I think so.
So in all of our conversations about this, you and I are not on the same page on a lot.
Really not.
So I would really like to hear your thoughts on Kenobi.
Kenobi is okay.
All right.
There's a lot about it that I was disappointed with initially upon viewing.
Okay.
And then towards the end, I was like, okay, I can look past it because it feels like they were building a story.
Okay.
A lot of the issues that I had with it, choreography. I had a lot of issues with the choreography in this series. Oh yeah, spoilers ahead, by the way. Especially in episode 3 when he first fights Darth Vader. That I thought was slow and clunky, and I was worried that the entire series was going to be like this. But then they showed us the flashback Obi-Wan versus Anakin, and it was a lot better. It felt a little bit more like the prequel era. I know you have to account for the actor's age, but it felt like the prequel movies. You do. They're not going to move quite as fast as they did. They're not going to be...
You preempted one of my comments based on an earlier conversation we had. That's what I was laughing about.
Okay, fair. And the finale fight, I felt was really good. I enjoyed it overall. So I can go back having seen the fact that they did build up as a progression. As Obi-Wan's progression of getting back, and you can say that Vader was surprised that Obi-Wan was as weak as he was and decided to toy with him, test the waters, whatever. You can say whatever about it.
It's been said. So let's set up just a little bit. If you haven't seen the series, just to be fair to audience members,
that's true.
Having not had any contact with one another for 10 years, Obi-Wan comes face to face with Anakin Skywalker, now Darth Vader, and he's Darth Vader to everyone but Obi-Wan, who's calling him Anakin. But Obi-Wan.
Only because Darth Vader hasn't run into her yet.
Well, yeah, this
is true.
This is true. You just derailed my thought.
Anyway, they run into each other for the first time in 10 years.
Obi-Wan's dealing with PTSD. He is not the master Jedi that he once was. He is depressed. He's kind of lost his faith.
He's kind of cut himself off from the Force.
Right, and he's cut himself off pretty much from the world.
Yeah.
And they have a meeting where there's absolutely no reason he should have survived. There's no reason he should have survived more than a few seconds of that battle.
Other than plot.
Well, yeah, other than it would have killed the series.
Yeah.
And it does create one of the major criticisms of this episode, which is the uneven pacing and the uneven fighting that takes place in their relationship.
Yeah.
However, by the end, he regains his old form and some, because we saw Obi-Wan do things that I think we've only seen in the Clone Wars.
I think we've only seen, there's only one other person that's done that in live action, and it was Bullshit McGee from the sequel trilogy, Rey.
Shit, Mickey.
I'll censor that in post, don't worry.
So much for the family-friendly rating.
I'll censor it in post!
So continue, though.
The choreography was dull for up until the end, and then it became better. Some of the new characters weren't as interesting. I didn't find Tala completely, awe-inspiring. All the pseudo-rebellion, because they're not yet the rebellion, because they can't be the rebellion yet. They were all serviceable, but I didn't see the need to put the emphasis on them as much as possible. But things I did love were the Grand Inquisitor.
Yes.
I thought that people were upset about his head not being as long as it is in Rebels, even though in Episode 3 the same species had long ones. Movie versus TV show. I know they're spending millions of dollars on this TV show, but it's artistic license. Okay? It's artistic license. Get over it. Some things are gonna look different. All right.
Really,
we're coming to accept that. We're coming to accept that Ahsoka's things look different, although they've made them a little bit longer. But no, actually, they made them shorter. They've made them shorter since Mandalorian.
If someone's complaint about the Grand Inquisitor is the size and shape of his head, we are talking about nitpicking over stuff that is unimportant.
Yeah, it's really unimportant.
At least from my perspective, because I'm more concerned about character development. I'm more concerned about the story arc of characters and how they're presented. And there are some major problems in this show.
Oh yeah,
with this, and one of them is, well, you brought up Tala.
Yeah.
Tala's a serviceable character. She's a supporting character, but you get that standard scene in Hollywood and TV shows where one character comes in and lays bare their soul, which is pretty much an indication they're going to be killed in the next scene.
Oh yeah, It's the easiest
and
foreshadowing in the world.
Well, but it was completely unnecessary. We don't need to know why Tala did what she did. All we need to know was she was a member of the burgeoning rebellion, and that she was fighting hard. She was the Black Widow. She had red on her ledger, and she wanted to get it off, and she got it off by detonating herself along with her pet droid, and took out a lot of people in the process. But hey, Leia got a cool holster out of the deal, so
that's very true.
Whereas you get I don't remember the name of the character, African American actor. He beard mustache. He was kind of
Discount Iced Tea.
Discount Iced Tea
or Ice Cube or whatever that rapper's name is. Iced Tea. Ice Tea.
Was that Iced Tea?
No, it's not.
Okay.
That's why I said discount. He
Ice
looks
okay.
like.
Oh, gotcha. Okay.
He reminds me.
Good actor. Good acting.
He is.
We didn't need to know his backstory. We learned a little bit. What was his wife force sensitive or something? Did I catch that?
I think he said that.
Yeah,
I think he said that. It was such a throwaway line.
Right,
like
but
they were being hunted because, or he married a Jedi that went into hiding, or something like that.
And you know what? So his character was far better than Tala's. In both in the writing and in the performance.
Yes.
And so
he's a. I know I just made the crack. It sounds like I'm dissing on the actor. He just looks like the rapper, but he's a good actor. I've seen him in a lot.
Oh,
and
yeah.
He's always put on a decent performance.
Yeah.
So I wish I knew his name.
Very good. If we see more in this world, it would be fun to see, his character again. It was a good one. The early on, due to, and I'm going to walk right up to the third rail here, and then I'm going to dance on the third rail. Early on, there were some really, really nasty online comments about the character Reva and the actress playing her.
Yeah. And Ingram.
Yes, and they were nasty.
Very nasty.
And it almost sets up this scenario where we're not allowed to talk about her or criticize the character, not the actress,
Not
but
the
the
actress,
character.
the character.
In any way, shape, or form. And that's unfair and it's wrong. And so,
Criticizing a character is not criticizing the actor or the actress playing them. Those are two separate things.
One of the first things I did when I heard these criticisms about Moses Ingram was I tried to look up her body of work and maybe see some other things that she's done. And the only thing that I could find online, in a limited time I had to search, was a part in a movie called The Queen's Gambit.
Okay.
And I watched it, and I watched just a little bit of it on YouTube, and she was good. It was a good character. It was, she did a good job.
Okay. Yeah.
I haven't seen enough of her body of work to know what her acting chops are.
Yeah.
I will tell you that I think that the writers did her a gross disservice because I don't think they wrote the character Reva particularly well. And here is my problem with Reva. There was no emotional connection with her character that made me care about her.
Because the whole anchor for her story is like the opening minutes of episode 1, and it's yet another. Order 66 is the new Uncle Ben. Okay? Let me just put that real quick. Order 66 is the new Uncle Ben. We've seen it how many times now? So, in Order 66, like the flashback, you're supposed to see her.
Right.
It's never made, like, it, unless you're just going to look and say, well, there's a little black girl and there's a black female inquisitor. All right, that's the only connection you have. That's the only hint you have. And while a lot of people caught on to that,
I didn't.
Some people won't. A lot of people will catch on to it because they go back and rewatch these things religiously. But, that was the only information you had as to what her emotional beat was going to be, and they never made it clear. No one ever looked at her and said, let's get out of here, Reva. And then then you get Third Inquisitor or Third Sister for like half the episodes until one of the Inquisitors just calls her Reva, and then you get the, oh, what the twist, amazing whatever. That would have been at least something. But that's the problem that they had with this.
It's a writing issue. I would love to have cared about her character. Now, having said that, I will say this one thing about the performance. It was wooden.
A little bit.
It was a little wooden. And so the Grand Inquisitor steps out, and this is going to become an overall criticism of Star Wars from 1976 on forward. Uneven casting. The casting is so grossly uneven.
Yeah.
Who is the actor who plays?
It's authentic.
Grand Inquisitor.
Something Friend.
Yes, Ralph Friend. Anyway, I apologize.
Mr. Friend.
I apologize for not bringing my notes. His acting ability, he can do more with his voice. He's got that silky evil that Jason Isaacs did so well as Malfoy, as the older Malfoy,
Lucius Malfoy.
As Lucius Malfoy.
Yeah.
He can accomplish more with one sentence than I think Moses Ingram did in the entire series. It's
uneven.
It's uneven. The same problem existed between Hayden Christensen and
Ewan McGregor in the first place. Although that has improved. We'll get to that.
And
we'll get to that.
And so here's the cool thing. I would love to see Reva 10 years from now, and I would love to see Reva 10 years from now played by Moses Ingram.
Yeah.
I really want to see where that character goes. And I really want to see what she would do with that character with 10 years of life experience and acting experience under her belt. Because the Hayden Christensen that walked on screen for this series
was completely different.
He was so much better than the guy who got his legs cut off on Mustafar. It was just an amazing difference. And so I made the observation to you that the makeup couldn't quite hide the aging in his face.
But they didn't do CGI.
No, they did, which was so great.
So cool.
It was so cool.
So cool. And this is not like father like son in this case.
Well, exactly. And so,
oh my gosh, it was so nice to see Hayden Christensen just naturally playing his part.
So I give you a great example of the difference in the acting skill, and so we're going to go away from Star Wars for just a moment. Last night, your brother and I watched Captain Marvel. He had never seen it.
Okay.
Now, it's a movie we've talked about.
Yeah.
It's a movie you aren't a particularly big fan of. It's a movie that every time I watch it, I like it more than the time before.
I don't get why.
Well, I'll tell you, the big thing is the skill of the actors, the relationship between Captain Marvel and Fury, and the playfulness between Brie Larson and Samuel L. Jackson on screen. The chemistry is incredible. But as I'm watching this last night and I'm going over it, I'm looking at the subtlety of Brie Larson's facial expressions on some of the close-up shots. She's in the middle of the fight on the elevated train, and she's going after the Skrull with who's dressed as the old lady, the granny, which is just an absolutely hysterical scene.
Yeah.
And she opens up the door and she walks in, and her hair is disheveled. Something about that show that I really like is she doesn't look like the model perfect hair in place, superhero, and she just goes and blows the hair out of her face. They'll do a close-up, and she just gives that little hint of a smile at the side of her face, and it works so well. So much is conveyed with the just subtlety,
the
right?
Micro expressions.
Those micro expressions. So the Grand Inquisitor had them. Reva didn't. She was very wooden, and I don't know if that was by choice, by the director and the actor saying, okay, this is how we're going to play it, or if they just didn't give her enough meat in the script to come up with those things. But
probably a mixture.
She was so wooden, and then the backstory needed to come sooner. We needed to care about Reva sooner, so that when the big obvious reveal came, we would feel the tragedy of the situation, and that's what was lacking was the tragedy of the situation.
Otherwise, she was a showcase for Vader to wreck.
Yeah.
Because that does happen, and that's where like episodes 5 and 6 is where the series takes off. Is where the series takes off, like, completely. We got more of Rogue One is what we got. Oh, just a little bit more. Just a little bit more.
Oh, you're talking about the ending of Rogue One.
Oh,
okay.
yeah.
So
we got a little bit of that. Little bit of that.
We got done with episode, it was either 2 or 3 when Kenobi makes his big escape, where Kenobi is so weak that he gets saved by a loader droid. Oh, my goodness. That there's this lake of fire between Vader and Obi-Wan, and that fire is so intense and it is so big that Vader just stands there and watch while a loader droid that moves at the speed of
a geriatric snail
and escapes with Obi-Wan. I'm like, oh, you've got to be kidding me. First of all, we've been treated to Vader walking down the center of the street and casually force choking someone and grabbing them by the neck and dragging them down the street.
Oh, yeah.
He reaches out with his hand, he goes like this and snaps the neck of a kid against it. We see him at his evil best, and
evil peak.
Right? And then he gets stopped by fire?
Yeah.
Are you freaking kidding me? And a loader droid? Give me a break. And then 2 episodes later, we see him stop a ship from taking off with his hand, pulling it back. And then tearing it apart. Right? Now,
and then he proceeds to fight a lightsaber duel, half of which he fought without a lightsaber.
Oh, that was so
boom,
cool.
Boom!
It was Dooku. It was the power of Dooku.
Yes.
We saw Dooku going up, just dodging Ventress and not really looking like he was trying hard.
Yeah.
And we see Vader fighting with his hand like that. It was like, here is all of his power. So now you get the fight with Kenobi.
At the end.
And you don't see him try much of that stuff with Kenobi.
No.
Right? And so, I'm wondering the uneven side of that. But the thing that was so cool was watching Kenobi raise his hands, all of these rocks are there. You know that Vader is about to get pummeled with those rocks, and here we go to the skill of the actor and the subtlety.
Yeah.
There is this hint of a smile on Kenobi's face.
Yeah.
There's a hint of almost
Oh, yeah.
pleasure.
Oh, yeah.
And then he he doesn't even throw his arms like this. He just flinches, and these rocks just,
and these rocks,
right?
Boom! It's like a machine gun. Boom! 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 Boom!
And he's almost enjoying it.
Yeah.
Just a bit. Just that hint of a smile, and that goes back to this whole uneven casting and the whole thing.
Mm-hmm.
Hayden Christensen can project more evil with his
Oh
eyes.
my gosh!
That one eye stare through the mask.
Eye, that glare. You know what it was? You know what someone observed, and I noticed it. I noticed this mirror, and then someone like put all the pieces together.
Right.
So you remember in Rebels, Ahsoka gets a shot on his mask too.
Yes.
Ahsoka gets a shot on the right side of his mask.
I did
Obi-Wan takes out his left side. But Luke is the only one who could get the entire mask off.
Oh, it's a very interesting observation.
That was just a really cool little pattern.
That is a
like
real,
the two most important people in Vader's life could not remove his mask, and Luke did. I don't know. I think that's just people reinforcing the story further.
Well,
down.
but
Yeah.
remember, Luke got the mask off at Vader's request. Anakin,
Yes.
having reverted back to Anakin,
yeah, he allowed
said,
it.
Remove my mask. What Luke says, but you'll die, and he says, you can't stop that. Let me see you with mine own eyes.
Yeah.
It was a cool line. It was a good moment.
It was a good line. It was a good moment.
The Grand Inquisitors, I don't know. Was it fifth brother, third brother,
Fifth brother.
Fifth brother,
because she's the third sister.
I kind of liked him, and I kind of didn't. The other Inquisitor was just kind of a toss off.
She was just there.
Yeah. That was okay. The star of this show, the scene stealing star of the show, is the young lady who plays Leia.
Young Leia is amazing.
She was
absolutely incredible.
Perfectly cast.
Yes, she was.
I noticed, and I didn't go back through, and I think mostly, movies, episodes 5 and 6. I think they used camera angles that mirrored some of those that just made her look like young Leia.
Oh yeah. They must have.
Her interplay with Jimmy Smits was incredible. Finally got to see Jimmy Smits really show his talent.
They allowed a lot of people. Hayden was able to show off his death glare again because the man just has a death glare that would kill you. Jimmy Smits gets to show off. Ewan McGregor gets to show off even more because he's a super skilled actor.
I've always liked Jimmy Smits' work. And going back to a movie I saw where he played, he wanted to be the next Al Capone of Chicago. It was Billy Crystal and Gregory Hines, and they were Chicago cops. It was a buddy flick. If you've never seen it,
no.
It's early Jimmy Smits, and then NYPD Blue.
Okay.
Great job. I always thought that his character was wasted in the early movies, and bringing him back and then giving him some meat and giving him some interplay. The relationship between him and Leia was absolutely fantastic. The casting of his wife was great.
Yeah.
Her interplay with Ewan McGregor.
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah.
Absolutely fantastic. That kid can act.
That kid has a future.
She does.
Yeah.
And it was a delight to see them, give that character that chance to shine.
Like we've seen Luke.
Yes.
Like you have that was a good choice. That was a good choice to be like, hey, let's give a young Leia
an opportunity.
The opportunity. Let's go more into her character because we haven't really explored it.
Right.
You could get a young Leia series out of that kid in a few years.
Oh yeah, you could.
Oh yeah,
most definitely.
You give that kid a few years, let her get to about 16, 17. You could get a fantastic young Leia series.
So in the
Just saying.
in by the end
Disney, call me. I got ideas. You could pay me in Monster Energy.
in the in the end of by the end of this series, I realized why we should never get the one thing that we've said in the past we want, and that is the Vader movie. Because when Vader rips apart the ship, stops it with his hand. Earlier, they make the escape after they rescue Leia, which is, again, another example of people slipping into an Empire stronghold, stealing someone and slipping out. It's overdone. It's grossly overdone. And how
Stormtroopers are so
incompetent. Exactly. You know? And
how did the Empire rule for 20 years?
I
It should
know.
have collapsed in 5.
I know, with that level
Gross
of
negligence.
So, but Reva was not able to reach out and stop the ship, which is what I was expecting to have happen. And I remember thinking to myself, how bad of a Jedi are you?
Well, okay,
how
we've
weak of a
only
Sith,
seen we've only seen 3 people do it so far. Technically, like really see it in canon, as far as I'm aware, unless there's comic books, but who cares about those? Rey stopped one.
Okay.
Rey stopped one in episode 9.
Okay.
But then she blasted it with lightning and thought that she was killing Chewie.
Okay.
Ahsoka stopped it in the end of Clone Wars. She stopped Maul.
Okay.
And then now Vader.
Okay.
And as far as I'm aware,
We saw Yoda pick one up out of the
We
swamp.
saw Yoda pick one up. I don't think we saw Yoda stop a ship, though, from taking off.
I wonder if we saw Dooku do it.
I don't know.
It'd be interesting.
It'd be interesting.
But
basically, it's something only like the most powerful can do.
And so you see the power of Vader now, you know, both in the cartoon series, and now we see the power of Vader both in Rogue One and in the end of this series. If they gave Vader a movie with his abilities, I don't think they could come up with a realistic threat
Yeah, no.
to challenge his ability
Vader
level.
needs to stay the villain.
Yes.
Like you as much as we would love to see just nonstop Vader tearing through people, there's no story there.
Exactly.
That's what people wanted out of Book of Boba Fett.
Right.
And that's what we were criticizing.
Right. And
So he's better as the end all be all villain for like these in between series.
Yes.
Because he's an insurmountable threat. You can't beat Vader like forever because of the storyline already. Like there's only so many people who could actually stand up to him. 1.
Right.
Obi-Wan is 2.
Yes.
Okay, and Luke is now 3.
3, yep.
Okay, there are only like 3 people who can stand up to Vader on the good side, because Sidious would wreck him.
Right.
There's only 3 people, so he's better served as that villain.
Yes.
That is like you have to run from.
Yes.
You may survive an encounter with him, you will not win in an encounter with him.
Right.
You'll be lucky to survive an encounter with him. It almost gives a level of horror to Star Wars because he's very much a supernatural threat.
You're only going to survive an encounter with him if he allows you to survive. And that's,
pretty much.
Yeah, pretty much.
Pretty much.
I would like to see the Star Wars universe go in a couple of different directions. I want to see more of her. I want to find out what happens to Ezra Bridger.
I would love to get closure on those.
Yep, I would love to see a little more of the Grand Inquisitor because he was just so well performed. He's interesting.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think there should be another Kenobi series.
I don't either.
He's got to stay in hiding so that he's around, you know.
He's already fought Vader. Who else is there to fight? Like, what else is there to do? Fallen Jedi? Okay, hold on. If he fought a Fallen Jedi, that would be kind of cool.
Well, yeah, it kind of cool. But he's got to stay in hiding.
He's got to stay in hiding.
So, one thing that I liked about the one thing I liked about the Reva character, it was good to finally see someone return to the good side from the dark, because we've seen so many General Krells.
Yeah.
You know, we've seen so many people go from the good side to the dark, it's much harder to come back from the other side, and at least we saw that with Reva.
Yeah, at least we got to see it.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's true.
So overall, I think it was a pleasure to see the old memory of Kenobi and Anakin fighting.
Yep,
the lesson that came out of that. I think that's what people have been craving for so long, but you can't just return to that well.
Yeah.
So that was a palate cleanser. I am long been a critic of shows that don't give character development and growth. Mm-hmm. They did with Kenobi, and early on I didn't like it. I really did not like what they did with the character, and upon reflection, it actually worked. It actually worked, and but it's time to move on.
It is time to move on. It was good to see Qui-Gon Jinn come back for a 10-second cameo.
Yes,
that was good. It was good. Because it clarifies the whole, what Yoda says, training I have for you. And that, it sets up Obi-Wan learning to become a Force ghost himself.
Yes.
Because Qui-Gon was apparently the first to ever discover it. Apparently.
That'll be interesting to see if they go back and they make, anything about the Jedi
beforehand.
Beforehand. Yeah. That's an interesting thought. It was good to see Qui-Gon again. In our conversation, one of the things, Ewan McGregor gave an interview and he was talking about getting Obi-Wan to the point of Alec Guinness's performance in the original Star Wars movies.
Yeah.
He's got to always be working towards that.
Yeah.
And one of the things that we talked about and that I thought was really cool is the fact that Obi-Wan keeps schooling Vader.
Yeah. Yeah.
Keeps schooling. And this was your point. I don't want to steal it. So go ahead
It's someone pointed out online. I was reading it. It's the screenshot of Alec Guinness. So in the fight between him and Vader on the Death Star, which is obviously now Vader toying with him.
Right.
But he looks over, he sees Luke, Han, and Leia, and he sees them boarding the Millennium Falcon, and then he turns back to Vader, and he gives the biggest shit-eating grin.
Yes, he does.
And he looks at Vader, and I can only imagine that the thought process going through his head is, oh, he's going to be so mad when I pull this. Oh, watch this. And he's like, I get one last troll on Vader. I get to beat him one last time, and he will never, ever live it down or never recover. And then he just lets Vader kill, and he disappears. There's no body. There's nothing besides his lightsaber. And it feels like it's connected now because
it is connected, and it is
with the beatdown and with the slight smile that he had and the fact that he was like, "See you around, Darth."
Well, and so that was a critical line. It was Anakin at the beginning, and then there was the acceptance.
Yeah,
Anakin is gone. Mm-hmm. Darth Vader is there, and he calls him Darth, and so that connects to that fight sequence where he calls him Darth in episode 4. So
of course now it sounds like a they've become colloquials almost, like colloquialisms, like the Darth titles. It's a title. So back then it was like only a Master of Evil Darth, and it's like it's like Lord,
right?
But now it's like it's been used so many times that it's kind of almost like you're calling him by a nickname now. I'm like, that felt a little odd now with so many years of reflection.
Yeah.
But it connects the gap, and I see why it's important.
So I will say that the quality of the writing, in those two character arcs, and the quality of the directing and the quality of McGregor's performance, which was absolutely tremendous, has absolutely bridged that gap. I don't see him aging to gray quite as quickly as the next 10 years will show, but it could happen. Sometimes people just go gray overnight.
He's also on a desert planet with 2 suns, and he's not getting his daily moisturizing routine in.
If that is my biggest
Bail
criticism,
Organa is getting.
If that's my biggest criticism, yeah, I'm not going to get into the nitpicky side of that. I'm just not.
Yeah, he has a whole other fight
So-
with Maul in between this series and.
Yeah,
He does.
It's almost unfortunate that was done in a comic,
a cartoon.
cartoon. Yeah,
Yeah.
But it really was another great Star Wars writing storyline closure.
Oh yeah.
You know.
Yeah, I feel like having with this series now and with his appearances in Clone Wars, and he was snarky in Clone Wars.
Oh yes, he was.
He was
Oh, yes, he was.
fantastic in Clone Wars. With his appearance throughout everything.
Yes.
I feel like Obi-Wan's entire story has been told at this point.
Yes, it is.
You've got closure
Yes, it is.
on just about every major plot line. You saw him be a Padawan. You saw him learn to teach his own Padawan.
Right.
You saw him be a general and one of the best in the galaxy. You get to see him lose his best friend, accept that he's lost his best friend,
Right.
and rise back to the occasion. Because his character arc, he starts off this show thinking, I have to protect Luke, I have to protect Luke, I have to protect Luke. And I'm just sitting here going, bud, you ain't protecting Jack right now in your state. You need to go on your vision quest. Connect the Force. Otherwise, you ain't protecting nothing.
Yeah.
And he does that.
He was
You know,
lucky to have survived this whole thing.
Exactly. He
was.
recovers. He reconnects to the Force. He
Right.
comes back, and he's ready to train the next generation and protect Luke and train him.
Right.
He gets closure. He finally defeats his longest nemesis in Maul.
Mm-hmm.
You know, he gives his enemy peace. He comes to peace with it. I think he was at peace with killing Maul before he even did.
Probably.
I think he was.
Probably.
And then, because as he says in Clone Wars, I've killed you before.
Well, I don't think he ever would have actively hunted Maul.
No, he wouldn't.
But
have.
he
He was ready to face him if the chance.
Yeah.
If it was to come up.
So I think final thoughts. Last thing we talked about a little bit. I really enjoyed the return of Owen and Beru.
Yep. Owen was a good character in this.
He's a very good character.
He had a valid point,
Yep.
and there were valid criticisms against him.
Yep.
Yeah, it's
and his performance was solid. I did not like the fact that Reva got her ass kicked by Owen and Beru.
It's a
but
couple farmers, yeah.
You know, they should not have survived that one at all.
no, they really shouldn't have.
But yeah, you know, it was good. It was well done. So if you haven't seen Kenobi, watch it. If you want to enjoy a decent entry into the Star Wars universe, it's got really good points. It's got a couple of weak spots.
And live action clone trooper armor.
Live action clone trooper armor failing.
Yes.
Yeah.
But live action clone
Clone
trooper
trooper,
armor,
yeah.
because we've never seen practical clone trooper armor. I'm sorry, I'm a sucker for clone troopers, so
Yeah, gotcha.
they did actual armor for this instead
Okay.
of CGIing it like they did in the prequels.
Oh,
Because
gotcha.
we've never seen like
Gotcha, I
actual or like
Right.
made, which gives me hope for cosplays in the future.
I would like to have seen possibly more clone troopers like we saw in episode 2. The beggar
yep.
on the street. That would have been fun. Maybe exploring. I was wondering if they were going to bring a clone trooper back.
I think we're gonna get more of that in like the Bad Batch.
You know what? I'd like to see a live action Rex. In his
I would.
In his retirement, that would be fun.
I would. Tamura Morrison can play him in
right.
Ahsoka.
Well,
I would
and-
totally
and-
believe.
okay.
I would totally believe that you could get Tamura Morrison to play Rex.
Oh yeah,
in
most
this-
definitely,
in the Ahsoka show.
And he's the right size for the Rex we saw at the end of Clone Wars. No, this is not a cheap shot.
This
I
is
mean,
not a
it's
cheap shot.
physically.
He wasn't fat.
No, but
He
he's
was-
big.
But he's bigger.
He's big. Yeah.
He's older, and he wasn't like out of shape.
No. He's.
But he matches like an older veteran
Yes.
fighter now.
Yes, most definitely.
Got that old man rage.
So that is our episode on Obi-Wan Kenobi.
If you've seen it, let us know your thoughts.
Yeah, we'd love to hear your thoughts on this one.
Yeah,
and
because we keep rambling on ours.
we're done. Thank you for tuning in to Pork Chops, Rice, and Peaches today.
And we'll see you in the next one.